Well, for me, it always starts out with like first notes or internet research and like a list of places I would want to visit surrounding this theme. And the real thing starts when I go to the first places and take the first pictures. So with this movie, it started out very slow because I got refused to many places. The first shipbreaking yard in India I wanted to visit would kick me out after one day. But I've seen many things on this research also that I later did not include in the film. Like I saw incredible Tanzanite mines in Tanzania, which were very similar to the mines in Ukraine, but would go all the way into the mountain, and they would like use a lot of dynamite down there, and it was really wild stuff, and we did a lot of photos also of this. But then we decided not to use mines 2 times, so many stages and many things get lost on the way because other things get more important. So it's like a piecework. You see many places, and then you filter out the few you use for the film. I don't know. What's worth it? Other people jump from buildings for fun or go parachuting. I mean, if you believe in what you do, it's worth to take some risks. You have to have a crew that is willing to do that or think it's worthwhile to do that in your life. But I mean, also with this film, the danger doesn't show where it really is. Like maybe the most dangerous shot in the film is a shot where in Pakistan where a big piece of metal gets dragged by a metal rope, and the cameraman is standing very close to this metal rope, and then the workers got really pissed because we did this shot, because that's the most dangerous thing, because when those ropes cut for some reason, then they go like this and they behead people in seconds. So that's like a shot you would never have thought that it's very dangerous, but a lot of workers on these grounds die that way because those ropes are cut and you wouldn't know it. But some things look very wild or dangerous and are not, or are not that dangerous as you think. And if it's worthwhile, everybody has to decide for himself. I mean, I did not force any one of my crew to go into the mines. I asked them, would you go in there? And some said yes, and some said no. So we found a way to do it without forcing anything upon anybody. And I myself believe it's worthwhile to take risks to do something special. Well, this is the first and the third part. The first part is very precious to me because my connection to the people are very strong in the Ukraine. I mean, I really admired those people who had like the biggest downfall of social status I've ever seen. The Ukrainian miners were one of the most well-off people in their job in all Europe and maybe in the world as long as the Soviet Union existed. They had a joke in the Ukraine, which is not actually funny. The Russians always tell these anecdotes that tell something, and they said when a miner goes to a restaurant, he needs 2 taxi cabs, and the reason why they need 2 taxi cabs is one for himself and one for his hat, and it should tell how well off they are. They were in the Soviet Union like the most prestigious of all the workers. They had the best salaries, the best houses, the best cars. And after the perestroika, they really fell down the ladder of things, and now they're lying in mines with hammers and little shovels to get out the coal that they need for heating their own apartments. And still they are very lively and wonderful people without hardly ever complaining about their fate. and also their hospitality, in what way they worked with us and welcomed us there was quite outstanding. And in terms of cinematography, meaning and filmmaking, for me the Nigerian part is the most intriguing one, because I think there it works the best without words. What I like a lot in filmmaking, when something is almost self-explanatory through the images you can show. And this place speaks about so much about life, death, who we are, what we do, what we eat, what we pleasure, what we fear, and what is beautiful or not. It starts a lot to references of Soviet filmmaking, also actual references on archive material, and it pays some tribute to that kind of filmmaking, because I also make the workers to heroes, maybe not in the same style as the Russians did, but from the frame of mind. But it changes a lot, and it changes with every part. Every part has its own cinematographic language. Sometimes it's much slower, sometimes it's more based on association, sometimes it's frenetic and with a lot of cuts. So I actually started out with the notion that I want to make a film that honors the workers like the Soviets did. But then reality dragged me on completely different grounds and to completely different styles. I mean, it affected us always because we spent a lot of time there, and it sort of dragged us in all the time. Like, I think your vegetarianism will be very short, because also my crew said on the first day when they saw it, we're never gonna eat meat again, and in 3 days everybody was sitting with a piece of meat and a beer, because it became the perfectly normal thing to everybody. If you're there 2 or 3 weeks, you don't think much about it. It's like any other day in life. So maybe it's worse when you see it on film than when you're there, because then you're part of it. And so it of course affected me, and it made me a little more calm about many things, because I think that I always tell people before they watch the film, please don't find it too shocking. This is not a film that should shock you. This is a film that should comfort your mind, because it says more or less that however tough the situation is, you can still be the same person you are, and it's not the end of the world if you have to do a job like that, because all the people who are in this film are proof of that it's not the end of the world to do a job like that, because maybe it's more the end of the world if you don't have a job. Well, it's a good observation. I always get cynical when I cannot, when I don't like something. Like with these tourists, I had a hard time filming them, because I always find beauty in the world when I can see something that is beautiful, or maybe even for other people not beautiful, I can find beauty. When I see tourists, I can find no beauty, because I always see like intruders. Maybe it's not true, maybe it's good for people to go someplace else and see something, but I always have a big difficulty. Wherever I am, when I see large groups of tourists, I get annoyed, or I don't want to be part of it. And maybe that shows in the film, because the whole day of shooting the tourists there, I didn't like it, because I didn't feel like part of them. They were like passerbys. And so the moment you have that feeling towards the people you film, the easier you get cynical. Well, I did the ritual thing very much on purpose, because that's something I'm very interested in. It has a lot to do with like your everyday life. Like everybody has his rituals. like he goes to the same espresso house or coffee place, and he likes it when the waiter brings him the coffee in the same style, or some people have a lot of superstitions, like when you go to school and you see 5 yellow cars, you think you're gonna pass the test or something like that exists in people's minds. And I'm very interested in that also. Like in Indonesia, they really believe in the ghosts of the mountain, because a place like a volcano has a lot of spirits and a lot of fumes, and things happened there that people suddenly died on one day because there was fumes coming out, and they believe like in big mountain ghosts. On the other hand, there is religion, and there I'm very torn apart, because sometimes religion really helps people and makes them feel close to nature and things, but most of the time I think religion is the biggest oppressor of them all, and really suppresses the people more than any system or state, because religion is like the best method to keep people in their place. To say that's where you belong, you shut up, you be happy with your life, because that's the way God wants it. And I think like in Pakistan, the people are really, really suppressed, and this is a job they really hate, because they're actually farmers, and there would be no way on earth to keep them there without God. But because they have such a strong belief in that every fate is Allah's will, they will do whatever is asked of them. So I think that at times like this, and also the state the world is in at the moment, religion is the most horrible thing that exists. The miners in Ukraine are miners. Their fathers were miners, and the fathers of their fathers were miners. They know nothing else. In most of the places, in most of the villages there doesn't even exist a restaurant, let alone a shop. Nothing. Mining. Everything's mining. And they are very, very skilled miners. So they know that from generations. And they cannot be as poor that they are not still proud of what they do. And that's a very distinct situation. Like all of those situations are distinct. And the Pakistani are farmers. They have nothing to do with shipbreaking. The only reason they do shipbreaking is because they cannot make their living by harvesting and by being farmers and by the fruit of the ground. That's why they go many thousand kilometers on bus to the south of Pakistan to earn $1.50 a day by breaking ships. So they actually truly hate this job. And the only reason why they do it, because it's the will of God. The whole process of making the film was about 5 years. In the first year, you just like decide which way to go, where to travel, how to start the research. Then I did about 2 years of research and 2 years of shooting and editing at the same time. But you're not always doing that. You just like always have intervals, and I also made another films in this period of time. But like off and on, you go, you travel, you look, you film, you come back. It's like a floating process. And the kilometers I don't really know, but I've been to most of the countries 3 times, 2 to 3 times. So you can figure out with the base of Vienna how many kilometers these are. There were quite many, and also there is at least 5 countries that I visited for research, and then they are now not in the film. And the ratio of shooting, the film was shot on film, and the ratio of shooting is at about 1 to 25. The Ukrainian segment is like a story of the past and the now. It's a story of a downfall from a group of workers that used to be like the heroes of a whole society, or the vehicle of an ideology. to a moment in time where they are like on the bottom of the social ladder, where they have to hammer out their coal with means that were used in Tsaristic times and before, and even in 1930 they had better equipment to do their work than they have today. The story of Indonesia is a story of a very ancient, almost archaic work that takes place on a route of about 7 to 10 kilometers, where the carriers carry sulfur on their back, which weighs around 100 kilos. And on this little journey from the place they get the sulfur to the place where they weigh it and get their money, the modern world breaks into their life. Like step by step, first they talk about the prostitutes they go to, then meet the tourists who are not supposed to be there, and at the end they talk about their favorite rock groups and Bon Jovi. So actually something that at the moment looks like, is this really on our planet? Is this really in the 21st century? The whole 21st century breaks into the reality of the volcano and the place where they work. The third part in Nigeria is like a funnel, like something that constantly moves, that is on so many levels emotion. They bring the goats, they kill the goats, they skin the goats, they roast the goats, they transport the goats. Meanwhile, the cows are being brought in, the cows are slaughtered, the cows are beheaded, the heads are going to the roasting place, the cow heads are roasted. So it's a continuous motion that ends up in taxi cabs where they go to restaurants, other marketplaces, and they're home with the meats. It's a story of many contrasts. It's one of the most beautiful stories in the film, but it sort of doesn't go together in your head because it's a beauty of death. It's a very disturbing thing to see a beauty of death. And it's a disturbing thing to see a place that almost looks like hell, but in it are happy people who have a job they like and who are thanking God for the job they're doing. The fourth episode is the story of farmers who have to do their work on a, for them, completely alienated place on a beach where they destroy the ships of the first world to have some raw ore material that doesn't exist in that area. It's sort of a magical place because there's nothing else but ships, beach, the sea and the moon, and it is sort of the place where it's the hardest to see the work, because on this magical place it is also magical how the ships disappear, because nobody seems to ever move fast, but by the end of the day the ship is gone. And the last part of the film consists of two parts, of China and Germany, and it's sort of a transition part that leads us to how we conceive the industrial age these days. The Chinese part equals a situation that we had in Western Europe after the war, where people thought through their labor and through their pure will they can do anything and society will evolve to no end. That's what we thought, that's what Germany thought, that's what everybody thought in the 50s, 60s and 70s. And the example of the German farm park sort of symbolizes where that leads to, that these places of the industrial age are like conserved like the pyramids in Egypt, and they're sort of becoming a tourist attraction. And there also it's this two-way thing. On one hand you can say it's totally ridiculous to light up a blast furnace in all this candy-colored Rolling Stones stage-like light show. And on the other hand, it's sort of good that we preserve these monuments, because I think a blast furnace is still comparable to the pyramids in Egypt. Well, I mean, the film gives me strength, because I think, for me, it's a very positive film, because the closer you look, the warmer it gets in this world. Like you go to places where, like at the moment I filmed in Pakistan, Pakistan was off the list of 5 countries where you're not supposed to travel because they cut your head off. And in Pakistan I was invited to tea every morning, because just for the reason I was there, everybody was so happy that a white man still comes to Pakistan. So whatever they tell you about this world is probably wrong. And that's also something I took from this film, that when you go places, whatever you hear in the media about is probably wrong. Even if there is a war somewhere, you probably won't find the war if you go there. You have to look for it. So that's something that I only trust my own eyes with what I see and where I go and how I perceive the people there.